other, but his approach is very different and you know, mind blowing. So please give a strong and amazing round of applause for Mr. Tom Lord Algie.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thank you, Victor. Thank you for the kind words. Good morning. Welcome to NAMM. Welcome to Mix with the Masters. I'm always happy to do Mix with the Masters at the NAMM show because we always have the best crowd. Thank you guys for coming here. Don't mind me, it's still my morning. So happy to be here. And as always, I'm Tom Lord Algie. My brother Chris Lord Algie. We grew up in New Jersey. I started my career when I was 16 years old. Just a brief bio on me. I started when I was 16 years old as a lighting director. I always had a thing for lighting. And anybody that's been to my house in Miami Beach can see that, since it's all lit up in blue LED lights. It's called the Blue House. While doing lighting, one evening, the front of house guy was ill and couldn't do the gig, and the band I was working with at the time knew that I knew how to run the audio equipment and asked me if I would take over. And of course, my first question was, well, yeah, can I do the lights as well? And they said no. But I guess I did a pretty good mix that night because they hired me to do front of house. And I did front of house for 5 years. And during that 5-year period, my brother Chris was beginning to kind of carve out a name for himself at Unique Recording in Manhattan. And this would be in the early 80s. And he'd been bugging me to come and work with him. You know, he's kind of seeing that I'd be able to kind of help him out with what he was doing. And I finally took him up on it. And I believe that was about 1983 or 1984. And he pretty much just threw me right into the fire. I had no idea what I was doing, but I kept my head above the water. You know, I made sure that the sessions went, you know, that I kept the flow going. And I made sure that if a client asked me to do something that I didn't know how to do, Mr. Hayak, good to see you. If a client asked me to do something that I didn't know what to do, that I didn't know how to do it, I never told them I didn't know how to do it. I just figured it out. And that would still hold true today. But again, Chris kind of threw me into the fire. And then from there, I think you all know the rest after that. So today, with Mix with the Masters, I'm going to focus on, I'd like to show you guys a session that I did for a Japanese band. And the name of the Japanese band is called One OK Rock. I met them about 4 or 5 years ago working on one of their albums. And they're amazing guys and amazing musicians. And when you hear it, I think you all feel the same way. It's not a Japanese band that's sung entirely in Japanese language. It's kind of a mix. As a matter of fact, most of it is sung in English. But they are, without a doubt, a rock band. And now they hire me to go over to Japan. And I'll go over every time that they do a tour. I go over and I record their shows. I sit in the truck with a neat VR console. And I record the shows. And then I bring the shows, the audio files, you know, the Pro Tool program back to my studio, Spank Studios in Miami Beach. And then I generally spend the next 2 to 3 weeks mixing that show and getting it together for their DVD release. And it's a long, involved process, but this particular show was a show that I did, I believe was in March of last year at Saitama Super Arena, which is just outside of Tokyo. And again, one of the reasons why I brought it was I did an experiment with this because after doing my Mix with the Master seminar, I realized that most of you cats are mixing out of the box. I mean, who here has a proper console? Okay, congratulations, Joel. What kind of console do you have, Joel? So Joel is got an SSL. You know, I always if my brother, where's Chris? Chris isn't here, but I always like to joke at Chris. I go, I have an SSL in my house. Yeah. Okay. Well. But yeah, so the bulk of all of you here, you know, are well proficient in mixing within the box. So I wanted to try and run an experiment. So it's a 2.5-hour concert, and I'm going to make you watch every note of it. But I wanted to do an experiment when I mixed this project to see if I could do the entire project within the box while still summing it out through my console. So I still wanted to get the advantages of my analog console, but I wanted to have the benefits of and the convenience of automating and using plugins and all that within the Pro Tools. So, doesn't the session look awesome? It's very transparent. So, as you can see all my tricks up here, this one in particular, excellent, that works great. Can we get, well, what can I get up on this screen here? Oh, I see, got it, okay. Got it. So can you aim that towards me? Perfect, and let's look at the edit window. So, right, so I've asked them for a second screen, which is perfect. So on the first screen, you guys will get to see the video. At some point, I'll pull it down and we'll walk through the trickery. But this particular session, again, was my experiment at faders up on the console. This is a 100% plug-in based mix, okay? So just give me a minute while I pull up a balance, and then we can begin to talk about this. But enjoy it, and fingers crossed. Here we go. I'd like to start with instrumental, INSTR.
Okay, play.
I got the play.
Okay.
So the first song we're going to listen to is actually an instrumental track. So this is the track I'm going to use just to get the balance up with. And it's badass, this song. pretty cool. So, there's a lot of work. One thing that I've learned about going over to Japan and doing live recordings over there is the crowd is very polite. It's almost to a fault, because when you're doing a live recording, you kind of really want to get some of the excitement from the audience. And the Japanese crowd, they're very, very polite. So they really only applaud at the ends of the songs for a very short period of time. Whereas in the United States, you know, at the quietest moment in the most delicate song, there's always the yeah guy. We all know the yeah guy. You know, and it's usually like at the most poignant moment, you know, when you're just starting to cop a feel with your girl, and, you know, one guy there to ruin it. But in Japan, they're very, very respectful. So the audience was always... It's always a bit tricky to get the audience to kind of, you know, but when they do roar, they do roar. So I'm going to walk you through some of the things about this particular session. So again, we can take the video down, which I believe is going to be Apple 9. There we have the gratuitous logo. And if we can put the edit window up there, that would be great. And let's size it to the screen, please. Thank you. Yep. Perfect. I don't need to see that window. You can leave it on that screen over there. Because at some point I'm going to put the video back up. So one of the challenges that I have with the live recording, well, that particular song you wouldn't notice it because it's an instrumental. I enjoyed playing that for you because that song is just it's an MF. I mean, I just think it's just such a cool track. But I am going to play a song that has a vocal on it, which is just as great. But one of the challenges about doing the live performance is the leakage that you get in all the microphones. And I found over the years of mixing live stuff, from anything from Steve Winwood to any of the other live stuff that I've done, Sarah McLachlan. I actually think we won a Grammy for one of the Sarah McLachlan live albums. Back in those days, I used to use all those open microphones to kind of create the ambience for the hall. Nowadays, and then again, this was all that older stuff was done mixing analog and mixing with older technology. Nowadays, what I found when I'm doing live recordings and mixing of live recordings is at some point you're gonna have to use auto-tune. You know what I mean? You're gonna have to tune the vocal. And as soon as you put auto-tune on a lead vocal in a concert, you're going to start hearing ghosts, what I call the ghosts. So it's going to be a different pitch than what comes out of the PA system. So in order for me to minimize the ghosting, and Taka, who's the singer of this band, is actually a phenomenal singer and did quite well. And it was never an auto-tune on for the whole song. It was an auto-tune that I just went through and fixed the obviously bad notes. Or I shouldn't say bad notes, the obviously notes that were either flat or sharp, or, you know, that needed to be addressed. But when you do that, you have to remember that his vocal is being picked up also by every other microphone on stage. So what do? Let's go to a song with vocal. We're going to go to Taking Off, which I got. And we can start to go through and I can show you some of the edit stuff. But before we go to Taking Off, how many of you heard the TLA signature flanging in that song? Nobody? Nobody heard you heard the... Okay, let me go take a look at the flanging real quick because I did want to touch base on that.
Sorry, you gotta go to the left. It's reversed. There you go.
Okay, right, so you have the configurations then.
Right.
I got you. Somebody if you actually solo the track that is the flange, which comes in right here, if you just solo the flange track, you don't hear flanging. So because this was something that I mixed on my old system, which was an old Excel system, I had to comp it down. But what it actually is, it's just the whole mix, you know, that I filtered some of the top and bottom album that I made a little bit earlier and put a delay on that just sweeps it forwards and backwards. And then I just ever so slightly shifted it until I got it to do the flange that I wanted. Because that's all flanging is. Flanging is just playing the exact same source material and moving it in time slightly. So making it either early or late. So I just took the, you know, recorded that part of the mix that I wanted flanged, placed it in the section, moved it a little bit earlier, put the plug-in in, you know, just a regular delay plug-in that has an oscillating sweep back and forth, and then just slid it until it got to the desired effect. Back in the old days, I would achieve this by printing it to a half-inch piece of tape and physically flying it in and very speeding the tape machine back and forth. And Carlos Bedoya, he probably would have been there a couple of times. So Carlos used to work at me at South Beach Studios. And I think as you can see in this region here, right, you could hear right there was a big flange moment. Ted Jensen, a mastering engineer at Sterling Sound Con, lovingly refers to me as Tom Lord Flangy, because there was a period of time when every one of my records had flange on it. And then I think there was one album I did that the flanging came in at about 1 minute and 30 seconds into the album. And he says, that's a new record for you. But anyway, so part of what I was doing with this is to minimize the leakage. So let's go to a track with vocal. Let me play you a track with vocal, and then we'll show you kind of the things that I did to eliminate the leakage.
皆さんを今日は歌で殺しに来ました。最後までよろしくお願いします。This next one is called Cry Out. Let's go! The problem, not gonna make it right. Bite the bullet, then pull the trigger, hold tight. Burning down the right side in the sky. Nothing matters when you're in the fire.
I went through every line, every word, every... Oh, I filtered it. So a 2.5-hour show, I think the vocal took me about 6 days to compile, to fix, compile, and tune. But every single line, every word that he speaks is shut off and on. Even though you don't see it in the session because I had to consolidate the session to send it here to make it smaller. Every single line. And you can actually hear the ambience when he walks out into the crowd. See, this particular spot, I left it on so he would hear the audience. But in other words, one of the ways that really gives me the opportunity to spank it, to take his vocal and put it right here, is to do that. So that, because remember, if I don't pull out all that extraneous noise that's there in between all his vocal lines, as soon as he stops singing, that compressor is going to suck up. It's just going to suck it all up. And the mix is going to turn to mush. And that goes for everything in the session. I did it with the entire drum set. I did it with the guitars. I did it with the bass. I did it with all the background vocal mics. So this gave me, basically how I refer to it is it took the handcuffs off of me. I didn't have to make a compromise. And sometimes in mixing you have to compromise. Like how many times have you compromised the tom-tom sound because of the cymbals? How many guys have had to do that? Because there's so many cymbals. Well, I got news for you. You don't have to do that anymore. There are ways around it to do it. I've discussed those things in some of my seminars. I certainly have discussed it with some of my masters who are here today. They know what I'm talking about. But in other words, once you learn these tricks, once you figure out these tricks or figure out the way that works best for you, you get to come out with a live recording. What do you guys think of the way that sounds? It's fucking spanking, right? And the band, they freak out when they hear it. Now they expect it, of course. I'm going back in March we're doing 2 nights at Tokyo Dome. And again, when I find a crew that works, I stick with the same crew. So I get the same truck, and we'll do it the same way. But I'm always looking forward to it. But every time, this is the fourth show I mixed for them for DVD. And every one I felt sounds better than the last. And I have no idea how I'm going to pull out of my ass to make it sound better than this one. But I will. I'll figure it out. And again, we do it. But this should carry through in any type of recording, that no matter what you're dealt with, there are ways to get it the way you want it to sound. Okay? So, who wants to see some of the tricks with the drums that I did? You're all interested in that, right? Okay. So we'll shut the video off, and we'll take a look at that. So first and foremost, for the cats that already have seen or been to my seminar or seen some of my videos, you all know that the snare is the center of my universe. So of course, in every session, I have a cue that's called Snare Align. And as you can see it there on the top of the page, and there's a cue here for Snare Align. And what that tells me, that just gives me the visual reference of that's the point that I use to line up all the other microphones to the snare drum close mic. On this particular song, it happens to be where that snare bomb is, because I know that song and I know that that's a big open snare right there. Just real quick, if we zoom in there. So roughly, if I scroll down, roughly you can see that they're very close to being aligned up. Of course, along the way, something might have gotten nudged, but at least like the overhead microphones, are lined up. The tom-toms, I leave the tom-toms alone. I basically just do it with overhead mics and room mics. And since this is a live recording, there are no room mics on the drums. But the overhead mics, as you can see, there's 4 overhead mics, and they're all lined up with the snare drum, where the transients begins. I physically drag them, okay? I mean, again, I duplicate the region, and then I use the word fixed, okay? So anytime you see the word fixed in front of it, that designates to me that I've moved it and manipulated it. I always leave the original layer untouched, because sometimes it sounds better with not moving it, but not really. This also gives me the opportunity to check the phasing with the overhead microphones and make sure that everything is playing in phase and everything's right, because 99% of the time, the reasons that your drums sound thin is because something is out of phase. Okay. The other thing I do, which I've discussed in some of my seminars, is my kick and snagger. My kick and snagger. Who doesn't like a good snagger? My kick and snare trigger tracks. My kick and snare trigger tracks are used for 2 reasons. One, to trigger samples. And since you all already saw it, and I know that one of you is going to ask about it, I'm just going to cut right to the chase and highlight it. Oh, come on, open up. Oh, yes, it's opening up on that screen. So just like everybody else in the room, I also steal snare drums from my brother. Please. Oh, he's not coming in today. Good, so you can all go and tell him. He's not going to be here today. But yeah, so that's the CLA snare sample that I used, that I added along with the track. The majority of this track is a live drum track, but of course, with the kick and snare trigger track, it gives me the opportunity to add, without issue, any samples that I want. So I create a kick and snare trigger track, which I go through in my Mix with the Master video, so I'm not going to spend the time to tell you how I do it now. But again, I make sure that every hit is dead on perfect. So that's the first reason I did the kick and snare trigger track. And Dewey's hip to all of this too. Dewey's got an SSL in this house. Dewey, everybody say hello to Dewey. Dewey and I both have SSLs in our house. Yes. Not only am I the chief engineer at my studio, I am the assistant engineer, I am the head of maintenance, I'm the T-boy, I'm also the housekeeper. I have enough spare parts to build a second SSL. I do. I've been collecting them for years. And Johnny K, of course. Johnny K trademark. So the second thing about kick and snare trigger tracks, and again, in this environment, really important, it allows me to trigger a gate, to open and close the gate on a bass drum and snare drum to, again, reduce leakage. So let's go take a look at that. And no, I'm not going to solo the CLA snare drum. Okay, so when I mix, I'm constantly reinventing myself, and I'm constantly looking for new and interesting ways to get the sound I'm looking for. How many of you have seen this before? One person, and it's Dewey. So this is the Eventide E channel. This I'm assuming is modeled after the SSL E channel. I'm not saying that you should all go out and buy it, but when I did this mix, I knew at some point I was going to have to play it on an HDX system. So I was looking for a plugin that would be able to work in an HDX system and do exactly what I was looking for. So this plugin has a great sounding equalizer, it has a compressor, but most importantly, it also has a gate that is externally triggerable. Okay, so in my world, bus 63 is the track that I use to trigger the bass, is the bass drum trigger track, and bus 64 is the bus that I use to trigger the snare drum. So as you can see, it's the gate. Yeah, never hold the coffee over the console. It's a big no-no. I do it on my console, but this isn't my console. And SSL would fucking kill me. So, sidechain. Sidechains means it's running off the key up there. The key is bus 63. So we'll turn it off and you'll hear that there's not a ton of leakage, but you will hear the leakage. You know, it's a standard bass drum. You hear leakage. But again, you multiply that by all the different microphones, and next thing you know, you're swimming in it. And by being able to control when this gate opens and closes by the key gate, so let's go and key it. Now it's being keyed off of 63, and I'll show you exactly why, because I'm just going to mute it right here. Boom, and it goes away. Okay, and all this track is little blips of the bass drum sample locked. Okay, so the kick and snare, those tracks give me the flexibility to really pull the sound together. Let's take a look at you guys want to see what it's doing to the snare drum? Yeah? Yeah? So obviously you can see on this particular song, the snare drum was probably out of phase with the overhead mics. So therefore, when I went through and check it, I designate it by putting the out of phase channel in it. So on this channel, again, I did a similar thing. I did use the E channel, but I did not use the E channel to trigger the gate. On this one, I used the one that you all have in your computers, and it is called the Pro Expander. So we're hearing a little bit of reverb. Let me just shut that reverb off. Da, 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 da. Snare reverb is actually going to be below the snare. That's where I like it to live. So there's the top mic of the snare drum with the gate. Here's without it. Let's throw that bottom one in. So again, those are without the gates. As you can see, the gates are being triggered off of bus 64. There's no problem with the way that sounds until you begin to put the spank on it, okay? I don't want all those cymbals coming through. So let's put the gate back on. Okay, so now we have it kind of cleaned up a little bit, okay? Now let's get to how we make it sound really freaking good. And this is a TLA trick I don't think I've shown anybody yet. I don't think we've done the mix with the master's snare ping yet. So this is my snare ping. So here's the snare drum. I'm going to turn the reverb back on because the reverb does help. Here's the snare. And then here's the ping. All of a sudden it adds some body, doesn't it? Okay. How many of you think that that's a sample? Just one person? Oh man, I thought I would have gotten more than that. Well, you're wrong. It's actually the real snare drum. So I duplicated the snare drum and obviously put it through with this. So this is years and years and years ago. I've had the hardware piece of this. Somebody hipped me to it, the Transient Designer. And they made a hardware piece, and I used to use it quite significantly in my mixes. And again, this is exactly how I used to use it. this is my secret, and now I'm handing it off to you guys. If you have a snare drum that you just can't get to speak really well or has no tone, this is called this setting is what I call creates the snare ping. And you all heard the difference with it in and out. It adds this really nice tone. By duplicating the snare track that you have, taking all the attack off and raising up all the sustain, again, it brings up all the notes that are within the snare drum. And again, and then you just screw around with how you want the gate to work. Now, let's solo that track. I'm going to turn the reverb off, and we're going to take the gate out. All right, so you see what I'm doing with the EQ? I'm really focusing on that mid-range bark. Okay, now, for my ear, I was having an issue with the amount of hi-hat and top end that's leaking through it. So how do you fix that? You put a freaking de-esser in there. Okay? If you just consider the cymbals the de-essers, again, the 902 has also been my trick over the years to get rid of hi-hats out of snare drum channels. Use it in high frequency mode, find the channel, boom, boom, boom. You're off to the races. See, now I've just given you all my tricks. I expect you all to do this mix for me. Okay? And we end up with a drum sound. And now we're just going to move over to some tom-toms. Look, I'm going to give you a choice. We can do a Q&A, or I can show you some cool shit with the tom-toms. Your choice. Yeah! Cool shit! Cool shit! Okay. So, in a live recording, I would have to spend days to clean these tom-tom tracks. So I had to come up with something different. So there still will be a little bit of cymbal leakage, okay? But on a live recording, I'm willing to make that compromise, but I did find a new way. So what I did is I took the tom-tom tracks through the preset that I use in Steven Slate Trigger 2 to create just a tiny tick of the transient of every hit and create a new track and use that track to trigger a gate to open the tom-toms. And here's what that sounds like. First things first, let me just turn the gate off. I want you to hear what it sounds like before, and then we'll turn the gates back on. Unusable, right? How many of you have had to deal with that problem, with all that cymbal leakage? It fucking sucks, right? So this is the quick way around it. Just create a track. Just create a track that takes the transient of the hit. Trigger 2 does a great job at it. You render it, and then you send that down a bus, trigger gate. And then it sounds like this. I thought I did 3 of them. Okay, and then in the track, and there is another little secret trick that I'm doing in there, but we're just going to have to save that for when you come and see me with Mick for the Masters. Live drums, live concert. And here are the trigger tracks up at the top. If I can find my mouse. I can't find the fucking mouse. Hey. Oh, here we go. Well, let's do a little more bottom end. Let's see what happens.
That things are not getting better. We should know it's over. Seeing the other side of me, we try to weather the weather. We should know that time's gone. 내 뜨겁다 두어 희귀하워세 잠에 드시마 ever. Yeah, clear. I know this won't change. I'll say more.
So, that's our little trip to Tokyo. I'm Tom Lord Alge for Mix of the Masters. Thank you very, very much. I hope you take all those tricks and make them all your own because you're all masters. Thank you. Yeah, Johnny K.
Please stick around for a panel with Crystal Algae in a minute. CLA will be back in a minute. It was not scheduled, and it's a surprise. Crystal Algae will be there.
Is Chris coming today?
Chris is coming today in 1 minute.
Don't tell him I used the snare drum.
Stick around for our panel with Crystal Algae in a minute. CLA will be doing a demonstration mixing in about 5 minutes.
Hi, I'm Tony Maserati.
It's not about making a great sounding kick drum, it's about making a great sounding song.
It's like taking the listener's hand and say, hey, listen to this idea, listen to that idea.
This is Andy Wallace here. For the short reverb, I'm using a Lexicon PCM 60.
This is Eddie Kramer. Tape has a unique quality. It gives us this lovely silky smoothness to it, which you really can't get from digital.
I'm Chris Lord-Alge. We are deconstructing a mix. You really don't have to compress every single thing. Be confident in your balance.
I'm Joe Ciccarelli. We'll do different mic techniques, different drums, different tuning, different approaches.
I'm Chad Blake. There's some leakage on this kick drum, which I'm going to try to utilize.
You can choose what you like, choose what you don't like. Take what inspires you. You can actually see how everyone does it. It's incredible.
Are you ready? Yeah, here we go.
In my world, the snare drum is the center of the universe. I time align the channels to that one snare drum hit.
You know, a lot of time I don't like panning because it's just dual mono. If I delay the right side, all of a sudden it is going to sound like it's coming from the left.
To get a rock band in your face, it presents a few problems. We solve problems, that's what we do.
This time, not last year, and you did. You remember? If we lost the power.
Oh, right, we lost.
Yeah, for like 20 minutes. If you're unfamiliar with what we do at Mix with the Masters, we conduct week-long seminars. When is going to be your next seminar in France, Chris?
May 20th or 21st. Welcome, everybody. Here we are, Saturday NAMM, hangover day, I call it. How many of you were out late last night? I can see a few faces looking pretty rough today. I know I was out. I saw the Dawn Patrol myself, but hey, it's a lot of fun out here. I'm sure you guys enjoyed it. It's a little slower than the gang yesterday. But yeah, for all of you who are interested in coming to France, I am there before Memorial Day weekend. May 21st to the 27th, so check it out. It's a great there, and even from here, it's not even that expensive. You know, the teaching thing, even if you just come to my studio for one day, right? Now, we're doing situations where we can just do a one-day seminar here in LA, but literally by the third or fourth day, you actually start to grasp all the bullshit I'm laying down, you know? So it's kind of a better time to come then. So a whole week is usually, the people that walk away from a whole week, and a lot of my students were here yesterday, is the way to go. So I really encourage that if you can do it. So look, just check into it. It's not for everybody, but it's worth the trip because you learn a lot more when you're not at home. So we have a lot of fun with it. So here we are, Saturday. It's crazy out there. Even finding my way back here is like impossible. So how many of you out there are musicians in this crowd? All right, how many of you here were here yesterday for me? Oh, a couple. Okay, you're going to see me do some stuff here again. You might even recognize the song, but we're going to change it up a little bit and look at a bit more technique stuff. And how many of you want to mix? Obviously, you're mixing with the master, so here you are. So all of you want to mix, don't you? Okay. How many of you are mixing with one finger? Come on, there's more hands than that. All right, how many of you are mixing with the mouse? Come on, how many? Everybody. How many actually have more than 8 faders to use? Wait, I see a hand back there too. How many have like 8 faders? There you go. Artist mixer, right? It's a lot easier. Look, for me, The big problem with mixing is that it's like playing the piano. Who wants to play the piano with one finger? That doesn't work so well. But if you have this, I can have 88 keys, so I can play a symphony rather than try to do with one finger. So it's all about engineering. I think we're trying to make some room back there. Because someone's got my bag of drugs. Oh, he's going to hand it over. Okay, good. Great. All right. There we go. Sit down, Angel. Okay, you got your picture. Was checking me out. You're from San Diego. So you mix the mouse. I mean, look, the mouse is great for playing with your Mac and doing emails, but when it comes to mixing, if that's all you got, it's really tough to go any further and be creative with that, because basically what you're trying to do at that point is make the mix work by itself, aren't you? Clip gain it until it plays itself. How many do mixes with clip gaining? Right, how many do mixes where the faders don't even move, where you just play it because you've clip gained it and it's perfect that way, right? That's a long process, right? And it's really boring. We try to do performance mixing, okay? Performance mixing. Hey, folks out there in the perimeter, we got a few more seats if you're not afraid of me. I will not bite. Come sit down. We're handing out drinks and blow, whatever you want. And I might even put this hat on, okay? You want to see me wear it, don't you? Okay. All right, okay. I am now the Joker, okay. The Joker's here. I don't know, it probably looks funny, so whoever posts a picture of this will win. So, and my new hat here, anyway. Wow, that's weird. I feel like it's going to pop up and do something, so funny stuff. Oh, this is the collection hat. I'm going to walk around and get donations, okay? Or actually, I'm going to fill it up with plug-in authorizations. That's what you guys really want, don't you, huh? Right. How many have cracked plugins on their computers? We're looking up in the air. Anyway, yeah, I know it's tricky out there. The shit's expensive, isn't it? Well, you know, here, get some deals here at NAMM, okay? If you're using Waves plugins, if you're using U8 plugins, if you're using... there's a lot of great brands out there. Anybody use Joey Sturgis plugins? There we go. How about that gain reduction plugin? You use that one? Pretty cool, right? Go find that guy. That's pretty cool. Go to the plugin manufacturers and say, what can you do for me? Right? You should be walking away from NAMM with all the bargains you need to fill your toolbox, okay? Now, my toolbox consists of a shit ton of outboard gear and all the plugins, plus I think I designed a couple of them myself, right? So it's partly that. So get your toolbox filled up and get it organized. That's another thing. So one of the things we teach at Mix with the Masters, how many of you would really want to go to this? Are you sitting here because you all want to go, right? You all want to come to a class? Okay. We have fun and we do prizes. And any class you would come to with me, we have a really fun dinner afterwards. And then you get one-on-one time. We tell jokes. You get to make fun of me, okay? I love that. To me, that's one of the best parts of the whole thing is the little camaraderie, right? So you all want to come to a teaching thing? Everybody here, that's why you're here, right? Okay, and you don't want to be bored to tears, right? You don't want to be falling asleep during it. It's not going to happen at mine. Because one thing I'm not is boring, but I do teach some funny things, and I do teach like Karate Kid shit, right? Wax on, wax off, that kind of thing. Oh, it's this guy's hat. Okay, well, you know, we're not going to sit here and endorse some other products, so we'll put it down here. Okay. It's funny, some people will bring their product. They'll bring their product and leave it around, okay? Well, if I'm using it, I'll show it, but if I'm not, it's going away. So the thing about the teaching that's really important is that I try to show you that in order to be like me, okay, which a lot of you want to be, right? You want to have that kind of success. You want to have all those records under your belt, right? The number one thing you're going to learn is paying attention and to keep your eye on the ball. And it's the hardest fucking thing in the world because we're too busy reaching down to check our status, our Instagram, or our Snapchat, or some shit, right? So it's really hard to focus. So the really important fact of it is, if you pay attention, you win, okay? How I got every gig I ever had was by being a little bit ahead of the game on the other guy, okay? Because he wasn't paying attention, right? So that's what the whole mixing thing is. In my seminars, if you're not paying attention and I bring you up to the board, you can get embarrassed really fast, okay? How many of you have ever worked on a console with faders like this and feel comfortable around it? You do? You do? So you're not afraid, you're not intimidated by it whatsoever, okay? So we like that. So how many of you want to try working on a console like this and see what it's like? I bet you once you try going back in time and working on the tools that we used in the beginning, you'll say, wow, this makes the job a shit ton easier because I can actually control more than one thing at a time. So I try to teach, what we've done in the past and put it with what we're doing now. Because right now, generally, you have a laptop and a pair of speakers, correct? You're starting with that. How many of you have little studios in your back bedroom? Wow, that's like the whole fucking room here, okay? Right, because that's the only place you can do it, because it's your place, okay? How many of those back rooms look like really sloppy college dorms? At least you're admitting it, okay? How many of you have clients coming to these rooms? Oh, how's that working out? How does it feel when you have yesterday's lunch still sitting there and they show up? Okay. Here's the game. Whatever your back bedroom, your garage, the back seat of your car, wherever you invite someone to be a part of hearing music, it better be impressive. It better be cool. It better be like, wow, I've arrived, okay? Because if it's not doing that, okay, it's a complete reflection on you. Just want you to know that, okay? Before they judge you on the mix that you're trying to flush down their face, they're going to see where they're coming to, and they're going to get a vibe on that and say, oh, this place looks like shit. The mix is going to sound like shit, okay? Ever get that feeling when they walk in that they're not that impressed? And then you play them the song, and it kind of reflects that way? Do you know that's half the problem, right? So how they feel when they walk in is half the battle. Okay, now, obviously, I've been at this a little bit longer than you guys, a lot longer. So my studio is kind of a museum, so it gives them a very impressive moment. So by the time they come in, right, it's the build-up, right? Build-up, isn't it? It's all about the build-up. That's the most important part of the game, is to look bigger than you are, to act bigger than you are, and to be more confident than you are, okay? Confidence is everything. You got to be able to fucking Eskimos, I swear to God, and convince them that they need this. So that's part of the teaching here. So I'm not just going to sit here and talk all day, but what I am going to do is I'm going to make some noise, okay? You guys want me to make some noise? So I have this song that I brought, which I always really like, and I got to actually hear it again yesterday. So it's a Muse song, and it's a song they used in the Olympics. And it's just fun because it's more of a muso song. Not to even take the band Muse and use that as a term, but muso means it's a song that's got guitar solos in it. It's mostly a guitar solo, okay? But, and it's kind of fun. It's not supposed to be like a big pop hit, but it's something that I can just have fun with, okay? Because this is one of my tools here, and making music is supposed to be fun, okay? If it's not fun, then go sell real estate, okay? Right? When it becomes a job, okay, you're doing something wrong. And for all the years I've been doing it, it never becomes a job. So I'm going to just pull this, I'm just going to put some faders up here and see what we have. You know what? I'll put the faders up while you guys are watching. How's that? I'm just going to play it and whip them up and see what I build right away. How's that sound? Now, I work on an SSL. Obviously, what does my shirt say, right? SSL is my life, okay? And that's the mode here. So that's what I preach, okay? It's like mixing is my life, but if you took a pie chart of my life, okay, and you put this pie chart up on the screen, the biggest piece of the pie is me sitting in front of a SSL, okay? And that's 100% honest, okay? 100% honest and really real. And funny, when I was just talking to the president of it, I said, wow, I think that's a pretty true estimate. that in the last 20,000 songs I've mixed, right, I've spent my whole life in front of SSL. Now, that takes some commitment, right? You guys committed to making music? Is that why you're here? You didn't come all the way to NAMM and deal with this whole Anaheim nightmare. The traffic sucks. The parking sucks. You can't get anywhere. Fucking getting an Uber takes like 4 days. And it takes about 6 hours just to go 2 blocks because we're in Disneyland. But hey, we made it, right? We're not going anywhere till they start serving drinks. So let's hear some music. But, you know, I'm going to do a little bit here, and you're going to need to help me. So before I start playing, you're going to preach a little bit midway. Now, when I say go, we're just going to say SSL is my life, okay? Because you're preaching what my T-shirt. You guys game to say that with me? Just for fun, okay? So I'm going to put my video on, and I'm going to say this. This is going to be really funny, and we'll put this up on our website, okay? So I'm going to turn this to that mode, put it in the video, and I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, SSL is my life. Yeah. And we're going to get it started right now with this SSL right here. Ready? Let's hear some Muse. So first off, the most important thing when I mix is take off the stuff. And of course the close. Kidding. I can't mix with the metal on because it clanks into the faders and sometimes it gives you shock. So I don't know about you wearing jewelry, but I can't wear jewelry when I mix ever. And I've lost it sometimes because I forget to put it back on. So I'm going to do this one-handed, okay? I'm going to get this phone out of here too. I'm going to do this one-handed, okay? So I know there's a volume control here, okay? And I think I'm going to just put the first 2 faders up here. I'm going to do it like the one-armed mixer on the little swinging chair. How's that? This way I can have some commentary in between. Let's see. There's this thing called the space bar. We started with that. Oh, okay. There's the volume. Let's start one more time. You have the volume down, way down? Wait. Okay. How far does this thing go up? 100? Let me just check our volume here one more time. Here we go. They probably backed it off because I make too much noise here. Ah, yes. Okay. Oh, I think there's some choir that goes with this. There we go. How about some drums? Some snaps. Yes. You guys hear anything back there? Reverb. Maybe there's some singing coming. Maybe some drums.
I'm gonna win. Yes, I'm gonna win. And I'll light the fuse.
Parts of the drums.
I'll never lose. And I choose to survive.
More choir.
Whatever it takes. You won't pull ahead. I'll keep up.
Who doesn't love a choir?
And I'll reveal my strength.
There's got to be some guitars soon.
Yes, I am prepared to stay alive. And I won't forgive.
Those crazy choir singers.
Is mine.
Oh, yes.
And I won't give in.
I won't give in.
Because I choose to thrive.
Oh, guitar. Uh-oh. Oh, runaway guitar solo. I love a guitar solo. Even by itself. Where's the choir? Ah, yes. And the bass. Ah, yes. Choir. Choir. He's going to sing again. Hurry up. And some guitars.
And I'm
I'm gonna win. Yes, I am. I'm lighting the fuse right now. I'll never lose. Oh, that choir. Whatever it takes. Look at this, one-handed. Big vocal ending here. Crazy choir. Oh, solo time. Big drums. How fucking cool is that guy? I love that. And he's going one more time. Okay, choir. Oh God, here he comes. What is he gonna say? Come on down. It's got to look really funny seeing this guy going back and forth, right? Like a fucking cashier at a bank. Now, does it look like I'm having fun with that? Okay? Do I do it with absolute reckless abandonment? Because what am I doing? I don't care. I just have fun. I'm part of the exact good answer there, right? So if I'm part of the band, and when the band's sitting here listening, you think they think that was fun? The most important thing is when you do a dog and pony show like that, which is what I call it, right? That shows the band that you're using just all your technique to make it fun for their song and having fun. Now, I do have some commentary. I don't know if they appreciate that, but that's kind of funny. Because I'm doing it all one-handed, okay? I'm doing it one-handed to show you, you guys that mix with the mouse with one hand, look what I'm doing with one hand with faders, okay? I can manipulate so much more audio, so much faster with one hand and all these faders. So imagine with two, right? So the reason why I'm showing you this is I'm showing you because A, I want to talk, but I want to show you that even handicapped as a one-arm mixer, okay, which is what we're doing, like a slot machine mixer, okay, that because I have all these faders, I can still be creative even with that handicap. And I want you guys to move into a place where you can be more creative. Maybe it's a slate Raven. Maybe it's just a bank of faders, okay? But guess what? The gig has got to be fun, and you got to act like you don't give a shit except you want to have fun, okay? If you start worrying about and being precious about, oh, the snare drum, oh, the tom fills, or oh, this, oh, I'm worried, okay? Nobody wants a fucking worry wart behind the console. They want someone who's going to win. Now, one of the reasons I like this song, because that's the thing. It's like, I'm going to win, right? It's a great lyric. And the thing that's fun about it is that you don't have to be serious with it, okay? Mixing shouldn't be serious, except you're serious about making a great mix. That's the only thing that matters. But you should have fun with it. The artist needs to show up and see this, okay? See this happen, okay? And that's what's important, all right? That's the whole gag, all right? Is to be able to drive the bus like this. So let me play it again, and let me try it a different way, right? That was just trying to make the song work in one way. So let me see what the other parts of the song will do. So let me pull these pesky faders down. Let's see what some of these parts are by themselves. Having the chair on wheels is just so helpful. As long as I don't roll off the edge. I'll roll right into Angel here. He's like, whoa, CLA fucking crashed into me. God damn that bastard. So, hey, I can make a whole new song. I said a hip, hop. So we just see what some pieces we got there are. But we make comps in here, so we make it a little easier to deal with. And give me a beat now. could be a whole different song. And we'll try him by himself. Because the choir and all that starts to get funny after a while, so we'll try something else. Unplug it. Yes, it is.
I'm gonna win.
Of course you are.
Yes, I'm gonna win.
Well, maybe not today.
And I'll light the fuse.
And I'll burn it down.
I'll never lose.
I'll drink the booze.
I choose to survive.
Yes, sir.
Whatever it takes, you won't pull ahead. And I'll keep up the pace. And I'll reveal my strength to the whole human race. Yes, I am prepared.
Now it's a reggae version.
And I won't forgive. And vengeance. Because
Let's see how his drums sound here. Here is his kick, his snare. How's his room track set? Yeah, okay, we got some rock there and some stomps. Okay, that's pretty aggressive. Let's check this bass out. Come on. And does he have guitar here? Okay. And the guitars. Oh, and some echo. Give me a beat now. The fun part. And the other guy. Oh, we're just ripping it apart and have fun with it. Why not? Come on. Because I don't care. Just pull it apart. See what it does, okay? Been doing that my whole life, and it's fun every single time. Every time it's fun. And, Jeff, you having fun watching that? The second time's even better. Well, the first time I'm trying to see what the song does, right? The second time I'm just trying to figure out what else is in there that I haven't tried. So, you know, when we teach the class, we give everyone a chance to, hey, who's that guy? We give everyone a chance. You know, I don't wear this like you guys. It's just, it's so weird. We all have to walk around wearing lanyards, okay? I don't do it because if you don't know who I am, I'm not taking a picture with you, okay? So I have people go, I know Rodney Dangerfield, right? I know you. You're that, I know the plug-in guy, right? But actually, it kind of helps me sometimes because I introduce to a lot of people. But it's funny. I see people all night. They keep the things on. They forget. I just want to show it at the door, put it in my back pocket. So you guys should do that too, or you can switch them around so no one knows who the hell you are. So Who said they did some mixing in the console? You were all about you're on the console, weren't you? What's your name? Justin? See, he took his tag off. Okay. He's hiding it. Where are you from, Justin?
I grew up in New York, Rochester.
Are you familiar with this song at all?
I am now. Yeah.
Like me with this thing? Yeah? You want to take a stab at it? Come on. This is what we do at my class. I'm going to do it with you. Now, you see how it's all labeled here? Funny enough, the kick and snare at the end, right? And I have some like vocal effects here. You don't turn this on, but like drum reverb and stuff here is like lead vocal choirs. So what I do is I'll give you like 20 seconds. Just kind of put some faders at a basic start point. If you were listening to the song and paying attention, then you might know, you may know the song, and we'll see if you got any of the cues on how the song works. So Justin's up here. This is what we do in my class. Everybody gets a chance. No, I'm not starting it yet. What happened to the... No, not yet. Don't start it yet. All right, let's give him a little more of a break here. All right. Hurry up because the clock is ticking. Throw some faders up. I'll turn the volume up here to 11. What I do is I mix a song for everybody. I show them how I do it, and they kind of huddle around and watch. And sometimes I pick out who I think wasn't paying attention at all and throw them right under the bus. Put them up there and say, okay, your turn. Because everyone's supposed to just kind of watch, and if you pay attention, because I've been preaching it all day, right, then they can take a whack at it and go for it. So Justin, let's roll the tape. Okay, let's see what you get here. Justin is at the helm here, and we're going to see the band is sitting behind you. Hit the space bar. My brother's got the space bar in his hand. Come on, Tommy, hit the switch for him. There you go. I'm like, hey, where'd it go? Okay. Justin's in the hot seat. And the band just showed up, and they're standing behind him going, who the fuck is that guy with my song? Let's see what he does. I'm going to be the audience right now and watch. Me and William here. Okay, there we go, a part missing. Let's see if he remembers where the vocal comes in. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Okay. All right, the pressure's on. Thing is to make sure we hear the song and the singer. No soloing allowed. Okay. Okay, I hear it. That's good. Okay. All right. Check out those second choirs. There you go. Get that going. Okay, the band's back here going. Not so bad. Hello, Richard. Okay. He's not afraid. It's going to get complicated here in a second. Guitar solo right there. The lead guitar, come on. There we go. Bring it on home there, Justin. Come on. Yes. See, when you're mixing with the masters, you actually get to mix. What? It's so majestic. Choirs and guitar solos. It's almost need to hold a torch. Okay, we got a vocal coming back. Watch that left turn. Okay. Sure is. It looks like Justin's winning up there right now. solo time. Woo! There we go. Go get him. All right, more solo. Come on. All right, exciting back here. And the big pesky climax. Here it comes. Choir. Get that choir up, the middle one. Lead vocal now. Hurry up. All right, Justin, go get him. Come on. Nice work. All right, don't go anywhere yet. We got a little question here now. Okay. All right, how'd that feel for you?
Felt good.
Pretty exciting, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
You get your adrenaline up, doesn't
Yes,
it?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that adrenaline feeling, don't you? It looks easier than it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a different animal, right?
Yeah.
But by knowing the song, you focus on making the arrangement.
Right.
So this is what happens in our class. Justin, thank you so much for coming up. Justin here taking a swipe at it, okay? Now, it'd be real fun to have everyone take a chance at it, but this is what exactly happens in my class. You never know when you're going to get called up. And I bring like 10 or 12 different songs that I mix. So it's not like 20 people get the same song. You don't know whether it's going to be a Springsteen, a Green Day song, a Muse song, or anything. You never know which one's going to come your way. But if you pay attention, and I've had some guys do some great passes. Because look, it's not about the kick drum EQ, it's not about the snare drum, it's about the balance, okay? If you can balance the track and make it work, that's what mixing's all about, right? And that's the secret. That's one of the fun things we do with Mix with the Masters, okay? Is to put you on the spot. Because you're watching me sweat, okay? Because what happens is you bring your songs, okay? Because it's called Stump CLA. You bring your productions, and I have to mix your songs, okay? Right in front of you, and you get to watch my ass sweat. How much fun is that? Jack Douglas over here. Jack, great to see you. One of the great engineers in the world here, Jack Douglas, John Lennon, Aerosmith, God knows whoever else, Led Zeppelin and the rest of them. Is hiding over here. He knows what it's like to work on a console because he helped show me the way. But great to see you, Jack. Always a pleasure. A lot of fans out here today, people we know, coming to show their support with the teaching aspect of this, okay? When I started, there were no teachers. There was just your engineer that would train you, okay? You didn't have a mentor. Well, guess what? You basically sign up for a mentorship, okay? It makes it a lot easier for you because it kind of opens your eyes to stuff you wouldn't normally think about, right? With mixing. Because that's half the game. It's like the light bulb goes off and you're like, wow, I never thought that was going to make it easier. So that's part of the problem. So a little Muse song here for you. And make sure my mic is still working. And I'm going to walk out and ask a few questions over here. I'm going to walk back here to guy with the hat right here with the de-essing. John, what's happening, man? You're a local. So if you have one question for CLA, what would it be?
Yeah, I don't know.
He did not have a question. So you think you'll do one of these seminars?
I would like to, yeah. Yeah.
You ready to jump on a plane and come hang out with us?
Yeah, definitely.
As long as it's free? Is that what you said? Okay. Well, welcome, John. Okay. Right here, Cole. Right straight out of your head. Question for CLA. A bit of advice on what you do.
When completing the song, what percentage would you say is going to make it sound great? Assuming that the artist, the band, that they're amazing, what percentage would you say is the production, the mix, and the master? And include the editing in the production.
Well, look, I mean, it's a little bit of a tricky question, but what he asked is what's going to make what's the most important aspect of the song, right? Well, look, if it's if it's a good song to begin with simple production, mixing it's going to be easy. Assembling is all the hard work. So doing your homework ahead of time is what half the job is. What's your name? So, Ty. Okay, Ty. If you have one bit of advice you could get from CLA, what would it be?
Shit. What do you love the most about mixing?
Mixing is my life. I love the action every single day. When Justin was up there, he had some adrenaline flowing, didn't he? It's pretty fun, isn't it? So, no, but I mean like a technical question for your mixing, okay? One little thing to help you out. Come on, you got one.
Does the board make a huge difference with your sound? Or
It's not the board. It's what makes a difference in the sound is to be able to manipulate the music with your hands and have all it in front of you. When you're using a mouse, it gets very frustrating to manipulate more things at once because you hear more things than you can change quickly. Isn't that correct? So that's what it is. What about back here? Another Justin K. What's up, man? If you had a question for CLA, what would it be?
You know, I feel like I like what you said about having fun while you do it, but a lot of times I think we get sessions where we feel like we need to be more corrective. So how do you balance those two things together whenever you're mixing tracks like that?
We could be more corrective. Okay, there's a good question right there as I wander closer to the front so you can hear me. All right. You have to separate the job into two functions, okay? There's the cleanup and there's the mixing. There's the correcting and then there's the creative. So how many of you get bogged down in the situation where you're cleaning up the session and making it manageable, and by the time you actually start making it sound like something, you're fucking tired? Isn't that the job? Well, you have to really force yourself to say, okay, today's cleanup day, tomorrow's mixing day. I'm going to do cleanups today. I'm going to get it prepped so when I come in tomorrow, I can just start and go clean, right? And make it separate because, look, half the job is cleaning up the mess. Don't you know that, right? So you shouldn't be correcting. You should be mixing so there's minimal fixing while you're doing it so you can focus on creating what happens here, okay? That's the real challenge right there to begin with. So is to make that happen for you guys. So we'll get one more question here. Right here, Ian in the front row.
I have a question about the mixes. Do you record all those mixes, the actual performance, and then how do you come about deciding on which one to actually that gets onto the record?
Look, the performance mixes that I'm doing here, this is for fun. This is to show you that I'm going to have fun with it, okay? When I mix in my place, it's pretty much a performance mix that I record into automation, okay? And as I'm mixing, as soon as I hit a point where I thought I made a mistake, I just back up, punch in, and keep moving forward. So you're performing and go, oh, this feels really great. Okay, that part's too loud. Back up, punch in, keep moving forward. Make it one performance that you've kind of cut together, okay? That's the mentality of it because it's like, look, I'm not going to play the song and say, okay, I'm going to ride the guitars. I'm going to ride the snare drum. I'm going to ride the good. How many do moves like that? One pass at a time, on top of each other, okay? Stop doing that. That sucks, okay? That's not mixing. That's not mixing. That's like raking one leaf at a time, okay? Either rake them all or don't fucking do it, right? Make the song, it's like get the beginning, get it where you want it, great. The next section, back up, punch in your automation. Next section, keep punching it in. Keep rearranging, keep getting your balance. Make a decision as you go. Then once you get that one completed picture painted, then come back and do some fine tuning. Okay, maybe you want to fine tune the vocal level over that. Maybe now that you've gotten that overall picture, you want to adjust a little bit of the drum balance. But get the picture painted first. Don't go there and say, I'm going to put all the black on first. I'm going to put all the red on first. I'm going to put all the white on first. No. You got to try to do it so you hear the song in one swoop, okay? If you're going pass and pass and pass, you're not building a house, okay? You're building a bucket of shit. I'm sorry. You're not doing the right thing here. You really want to try to make it so, okay, here's the beginning of the song. Just decide, that sounds great. Okay, next section, and do that. So that's the answer to that, and that's what I think is the real secret, is to build it as you go. So we're all using automation. It writes everything. So just go to a point, punch in, keep going, and make it as simple as possible because you want to be able to hear the finished product right away in front of you. Then you fine-tune it on top of that. So that's a real mixing technique secret. So that's what I do. Hey, Parker, right here in the front row. How are you, man? You got a question for CLA?
What advice would you give a young engineer?
A young engineer just starting out. Go to wherever the guys, go to the places where people are doing what you want to do, okay? And go watch, absorb, listen, pay attention. And as soon as they make a chance, jump in there and try to take over, okay? But for someone like a student that's just starting out, okay, my best advice is to create a space in your house where you can have your room, your audio room, your place, okay? Have mom and dad get behind your career and say, look, I want the garage, or I want this. And make it a place where you build your career there. Start with a laptop, a pair of speakers, add on, but then use your spare time from school or work to go watch the good guys. Go watch bands, okay? And then the only way you're going to make it happen is to go out there and do it on your own and just show that you have more confidence in yourself than the other guy. That's my advice. Okay, that's a good piece of advice for you. So I'm going to walk back here and see who else wants to say hello. Hey, Eric right here. You got a question for CLA?
When you mix your lead vocal, do you do it in parallel, or do you add effects to the vocal itself?
Got earplugs in? Is it that loud here? It was. Oh yeah, I'm an old guy. I'm deaf, so you know that's the problem. All right, here's a little technical question. The first thing is get a balance where it works, okay? And then put the effects on the main vocal. If you have to use parallel, I will use parallel level to make the vocal sit over the track more, okay? Don't start trying to conquer parallel stuff until you conquer just regular stuff. Put the faders up, get it to work, put the effects off the main channels. If you're not getting enough headroom out of a vocal, for example, have a couple parallel channels just to bring volume up on the vocal and maybe send to the effects from there if you want. But that's where I go with parallel. Parallel is like additive spice. It's like, okay, you have it where you want it, but you know what? I want a little more spice in the drums. Let me parallel compress them and bring that up and add it in there. It's like an additive thing. But if you start with it, it's a confusing way to work. Start with none of that. Just keep it simple. Too many people are overcomplicating it. Everything has a bus. Everything has a parallel EQ. Everything has too many plugins. How many of you put like 5 plugins on shit? Right, I mean, really? Do you really need 5 plugins all the time? Try to get the gain structure together right first and try to figure out how to way to do it without doing 5 plugins. You know, or 10 plugins. Because the more you pile it on, it's harder to actually make it balance. Try to make it balance with no plugins and then see what needs something, okay? Look at it that way. Try to force yourself to do the least amount possible to make it work, okay? I mean, I'm just listening. Oh, I stepped on your, is that vodka? You didn't bring me any? I try to do the least amount. Now, in this particular song, we have some effects printed, some reverb printed. That makes it easier. So there's no effect. I'm just balancing it without sitting in here and putting compression on it. Okay, I have a little bus compression on it. Maybe. And that's it. But it's all about the balance. If the thing doesn't balance normally, then you're putting plugins on without even listening to the song, aren't you? How many just put the plugins on without even listening to the song? No? Okay. I think some of you have them on before the song even starts. So you got to try to do it with nothing to start off with, okay? So, you know, that's what we do at Mix with the Masters. We teach about techniques. Look, if you keep it simple, you can win. When you make it complicated, then you get yourself into trouble. And getting into trouble with the band really sucks, and you don't want to do that. So you want to show that you can be in control of your own destiny. So here we are, NAMM 2018. How much time do I have left? I think we're down here to the finish line almost because I have to leave in about 4 minutes. So anybody got any more questions for CLA here? Oh, the first hand that went up was right here. I'm going to walk over to him. Man, you quick draw McGraw. What's your name? Nick? Okay, you turn your thing around. Where are you from? Nick, Santa Barbara? What's your question, Nick?
I'm curious, how often do you mix visually and use the meter bridge and use spectral analysis and shit like that? And also, how often do you turn down a client to work because the session's a mess?
Well, there's 2 important questions. You got to use every aspect. I use the visual, okay, because meters reflect what's coming up those channels. So you have to you have to use not only what you're hearing, but what you're seeing. I totally depend on visuals just to have a road marker to see when the cars are coming from, okay? And then the second question is, do I turn shit down because the session's a mess? I will send it back to clean up. But unless I really dislike the music or it's not something I want to work on, I won't send it back, okay? So don't ever send anything back because it's a mess. Especially when you're starting out. If you clean it up and make it work, you're even a bigger hero. If I get something that's like really in bad shape and needs to be sorted out, I say, look, you have some work on this. Here's a couple of things I need you to do before I can work on it. It's a good question. Who's next? Thank you, Nick. All right, over here, Diego, what's happening, man? You got a question for CLA?
Yeah, for sure. So drum leakage against using gates on microphones on drums.
Okay, drum leakage using gates on microphones. First off, never record with a gate on a microphone, ever. You can always do it later, right? Okay, so for mixing, right? So what leakage are you trying to get rid of? Tom leakage? You know what? I never even bother with that anymore. Okay, let me tell you why. If you EQ the snare right and you add the hi-hat in, unless the snare recording's so bad, if you're compressing the snare too much, you're going to get too much hi-hat, okay? The only drum leakage you should worry about is maybe cutting away the tom, so the tom cutaways, okay? Cutting away the snare, it's going to get unnatural. It really is. So try not compressing the snare very much. Okay, if you're worried about hi-hat leakage in the snare drum, you're compressing the snare too much. Okay, you're adding way too much top to it. You're making a mistake. I've mixed so many songs where I really don't have to do that. And if you add some snare samples with it, your backbeat's going to get louder. So be really careful with gating. Gating can be bad. Don't record with the gates. But, with the snare drum, if you're going to even go down that road, then why don't you just strip silence it and lower the hi-hat level in there? Go down that road. Do an edit. So another question. Let's see, maybe two more. All the way at the end, Michael in the red. Excuse me for rolling in your aisle there next to Frank here. Michael, what do you got for me?
How do you deal with like low end outside of things like the kick drum and the bass? Do you just normally like have a set rule, like you're going to take out most of the low frequencies in most of the instruments other than let the bass and kick kind of occupy that place? Or are you kind of one of the guys who just lets low end breathe in other instruments?
Well, why would you want to roll shit off for no reason, right? You just want to leave it in there. Unless it's rumble off a microphone or an acoustic guitar or something. Don't just have a rule of thumb where I'm just going to roll a low end off. You want it to all work together. So I would only do it on vocals if you're hearing it, right? And doing on stuff where there's no real low end in there that's helping, where it's more thud and thump. So don't just high pass a shit for, to clean it up. I mean, it's not just the kick and bass that make the thing happen. It's the whole record that make the low end. So Michael's question about low end. And the more you compress low end, the more it gets out of control. So try to keep that so just the buzz happens. So I have one more question. Who do we got? All right, back here. All right. Back here in the back row. What's your name? Let's see. I got Kai. Kai, what's happening, man? What do you got for me?
I was wondering if you have a favorite well-engineered song or album.
A favorite well-engineered song or album? Well, there's a few of them, but they're mostly Bob Clearmountain or Tom Lord Alge. So how about Avalon by Roxy Music? Pretty fucking sexy, that one. How about Back in the High Life by Tom Lord Alge? These are some pretty good ones. And then I know Chris did something somewhere. But look, the whole key to Mix with the Masters is you got to be in it to win it. And if you want to learn from one of us, sign up. If you can't come to the seminar, get the app, get a subscription. I have 1 million great videos up there that are subscription only, detailed learning tools. And that's really important. I know you all got phones, you all got apps. Well, you can start off, and it's not that horrible, not that expensive, but we're making a platform so we can share some great knowledge. And I'm going to be doing a lot more videos. So thank you guys all for coming to Mix with the Masters with CLA. All right. So up next, we're going to have Nick is coming up, and he's going to have some fun with you guys. So stick around for Nick, all right? And thanks for coming to CLA.
Thank you.